Thanks, Chris. So as Chris mentioned, Bindu and I are the co-investigators of this project, and Saurav came on almost 2 years ago now, about a year and a half ago, to take the lead on a good bit of this work. And so Saurav came here all the way from Nepal, and it's been really cool watching him get involved and take the lead on this project and really dive into some of the data that we've gotten and make some connections. So I'll leave it to him to give you all more detail, and we'll be both available at the end for questions.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Saurabh Lamithane. I'm a currently second year master student at UVM and currently working on the project Angular Contamination in Lake Champlain. And let's start the presentation. Okay, the title is we are exploring the proxies of contamination exposure risks in the Lake Champlain Basin. It's a community-based study. Coming into the subsistence fishing practice, as you know, subsistence fishing is like a old age practice, and a lot of people are dependent for this as a income or as a part of for fulfilling their nutrition demand, and it also cultural significance to a lot of people out there. But despite these issues with the legacy contamination and metal contamination, people are facing a lot of challenges, and especially metals like mercury are posing a huge risks to these communities who relies on the fishing for their daily need, and these issues need to be addressed for the betterment of this community and for them to continue fishing. And especially contamination like mercury, PCB, and PFAS, which accumulates in the fish through food, water, or other sediments, and then through biomagnification and bioaccumulation, it is transferred to the food chains. And because we are at the end of the consumer chain, we might be affected the most after consuming this fish. And these are the major metals that we are that are mostly fish affected, and we are looking into. Mercury is like mostly common. PCB is the synthetic one, and PFAS is the like recently new one out here in Vermont, and it's mostly accumulate in the fish tissues. And regarding the fish advisory, it was initiated since 1970, and then gradually all the 50 state and territory has put on out their advisory for the people out there, but often marginalized and immigrant people are often deprived or don't have like access to reach to this advisory, and these gaps makes them more vulnerable to the from the contamination, and these gap raises the environmental justice concern for equal distribution of these advisory, and addressing these uh, challenges would help like all the people would get equal access to this information and could protect themselves from the contaminated fish consumption. Looking into the Lake Champlain, the fish out here do carry metal contamination. The Department of Environmental Conservation has given out advisory mostly for mercuries, and currently they don't have any issue for PFAS. They are currently working on those, and the advisory, they are mostly in English, so people who knows English and knows how to navigate around only would know about this advisory. Beside those, they are out of reach. And I can show you that these are the advisory they have put on out there. The one is the figure one with the, and it's out here, and it's the people who are not aware about the English, or like doesn't have English as a first language, might have a difficulty in understanding this one, but this is what we have right now. And these are the immigrant or refugee group that relies on fishing. Those are like Nepalese speaking Buddhist group and Swahili speaking, mostly from DRC and Sudan and other countries. Arabic speaking people from Iraq, Morocco, Egypt, and Vietnamese people, Burmese, and the indigenous Abenaki. And the consumption and behavior awareness of this group hasn't been assessed in Vermont, and that is why we are out here. And the goal of our project would be to conduct a community-based research and determine how the fish consumption or the fish species and their fishing habit and their knowledge of advisory may contribute to the unequal contamination risk exposure as they are immigrant or recreational fishers, and how the inequality or lack of access of information makes them more vulnerable, and other their fishing behavior makes them vulnerable to the contamination than the people, or than the white, or like the native people out here. And these are like two major research questions that I'm going to explain. So first one would be the perception, concern, and gap of contamination and health risks among the immigrant and refugee people. What are their perception, and how the second one would be the how the socioeconomic factor, their cultural and their access to resource influence on their awareness to the fish consumption in the Lake Champlain Basin. Yeah, and these are the two paper which would explain about the two research question that I have like. And today currently I would more focus on the paper one, that is subsistence fish, fishing, fish consumption, and awareness of contamination in fish among the resettled refugee. And another one would be the exploring contamination risk exposure in the Lake Champlain angling community. So coming into the first paper, yeah, so uh the two paper are like qualitative and quantitative. This is the qualitative one. And for the methodology research design, we we conducted a focus group discussion with the immigrant, and for the participation or the participant selection, we uh, took a help with the community partner like ALV for the recruitment. And this, they, for the participant, they need to be from the refugee or immigrant community, and they have are doing a fishing practice in the Lake Champlain Basin area. And before participation, we did have their formal consent, and we did provide a compensation to all participation of around $50 for their time. And for the questionnaire design, it was semi-structured, which include the fishing question, like when they started fishing, how often they go to fishing, where, which species, and the awareness from the contamination and state advisory, and then few demographic section. And the focus group uh, was conducted between around 1 to 2 hours of sessions. And these were the research participants. We were able to conduct focus group with the three major groups. So Nepali speaking people, Arabic speaking, and Swahili speaking communities. Total we did with 41 participation, and it was online and offline both, mm, according to the participant availability and time. And for the data collection, as the focus group was going on, the translator or the community partner would translate from the native language to English, and he would translate back and forth, and that's how we collected the data. And uh, multiple of us, other researchers, were present for the data collection so that we could improve the accuracy and we could collect or gather more information. And after that, the interview or the focus group discussion were fed into the NBVO software, and based on the software we identified some major themes. Yep. And coming into the results and demographic, uh, in the age distribution we can see the Nepalese group tend to be quite younger in age, while at the Arabic were quite older group. And for the gender distribution, we could see a lot of female participation were there from the Nepali, and a bit higher percentage of male were present from the Arabic group. For the Swahili, because it was less in number, all were of them from all the male. And for the socio-economic status, a lot of people from Arabic speaking have the less income, and they are getting a lot of state benefit, which it includes like WIC 3 square BT. And for the Nepalese, there were like half. And for the income, Nepalese, in general, Nepalese people were earning more than the other two groups, although the Nepalese and Swahili have same, but due to less number, Swahili has that one. Coming into the major themes, there were like uh, uh, more than 3 themes, but like these are the major one we would figure out from the software. And the one would be the fishing, its significance and barriers in Vermont, and second one is their fishing consumption and pattern, and third one is their fishing contamination and advisory awareness. Coming to the significance of fishing, almost all group mention or identify that like the fishing is the part of their life, their cultural effect. And these are like some direct quotes from the people that they say like it makes them happy and relieve them all from the pressure. And these are like combination of their fun and cultural significance, not only just for the food source. And that was their way of life. These all narrative uh, determines that it the fishing holds a cultural and a deep integral part of their life, and it is not just for the recreational or just for the pastime. It's, I mean, their life, I mean, the life depends on them, or like they live the way they are like doing. You see, coming into the barriers, they are facing a lot of problems or trouble for continuing their fishing in Vermont. Most of the Arabic speak people mention about their like need for better information of the fishing and about the fishing location, and lack of sign for like where they could fish, where they couldn't fish. And accessibility is about the uh, uh, disabled friendly fishing spot, or like the going the bus route and everything, how they could travel to there without having a car. And the Nepalese mentioned about their timing, because of the work and timing they couldn't continue much of the fish. And a lot of them doesn't knows about the rules and fines. A lot of them, especially because they don't have to need license back there in country, and they do required out here, and they simply doesn't have those information, and a lot of fines. I remember one of people saying like the fine is way too hefty, and they couldn't afford some of those. And Swahili mostly speak about the language barrier, and lack of discrimination and biasness. A lot of uh, one of them mentioned that multiple times white people have called upon him just for like fishing close to him, or and they have encountered a lot of biasness, and all these reveals that they do want to continue their fishing, or they want to uphold with their cultural norms, but due to a lot of these barriers and troubles, they couldn't have a like doing a good fishing, or like they couldn't continue their tradition out here. uh, Coming into the fishing, fish consumption and fishing location, this is like in general. I do have a specific one, but like their major fishing areas are like Winniski River, Salmon Hoy, and Heinsberg, under the Heinsberg Bridge, South Hero, North Hero, Waterfront, and Swatan, on the Route 7 as well. And different people go is their time availability, and the major fish, those who were consumed would be bass, eel, white pot, salmon, trout, pumpkin seed, crabs, and these are the fish they consume. And for the contamination, for the metal contamination awareness, Nepalese communities were quite higher. They know about the metal. Oh, fish does have metal on them, and mostly Swahili and Arabic, they have lack less awareness about the metal. For the state advisory, almost none of them were aware about the state advisory that the state has put on like certain consumption restriction, like you can consume this much of fish out there, and they were simply lacking that information. They do know about fish contain harmful metals, but they don't know which fish and how much fish they have to consume, or once a week, or are these fish safe to consumption. And these are some recommendations they suggest. At the end, they want more outreach and translation and meetings like these, which we conducted with them, so that they would be more aware, and a lot of transportation and friendly environment out there, so that they mentioned like there should be a bus going to fishing areas, and a lot of accessibility option. And some people might need personalized support, so it would be helpful if they could like call off a number, or like anything, like they could talk to someone to know all about these information rather than surfing through the internet. And cultural sensitivity, like a lot of people have like different cultures, so information should be disseminated, suiting their unique cultural aspect of immigrant. And uh, collaborating with groups like ALB, which have like better outreach, and a lot of program are held through them, and they have like better outreach program, and better understanding of the community, and partnering with them, and um, enhancing our information flow would be much helpful through them. These are like some recommendations they suggested to make their fishing for the improvement of their fishing out there. And which leads to conclusion at that as the Vermont refugee and immigrant government deeply value their fishing practices, but awareness of fish contamination is varies, and we need to make more outreach and education out there to make them more awareness and effective advisory, so that there would be no barriers to them to know about this advisory information. And collaborating with community leader and authority would be helpful, and it might help in the promoting the safer fishing practice and preserving their tradition. This was the first paper. Coming into the second paper, I'm still working on it, so there are like a few of it. It's a survey based paper. We did, beside the focus group, we also did a survey based. It was in person, and it was through online through Qualtrics, and we did from we started it from July 22, and we try to intercept a lot of in person during summer, and for the online it was all open. And we pasted that pamphlet over the major fishing areas, and they could scan through the QR code to fill up. And we use front post forum to reach other people out there in the community so that we could have like more survey responses, until we got around 92 of survey responses from them. And for the data analysis, we are still working on it. So we are going to do a cross tab, and we are going to do non-metric multidimensional scaling and a cluster analysis. And then we still going to perform a logistic regression on that. And then for the figure and visualization, we're going to use R to interpret. And these are like preliminary result. I'm still working on it. This is not like final. So the cluster dendrogram, it's based on the major covariates, and it's grouping on based on their similarities. And advisory and chemical are closely related, for the race and gender are linked, and age and income source like more correlated. And the frequency, the number 3 one is the consumption frequency, while in the another NMDS is showing the similarity of individual all 92 participation, and how they are like different or far from those number 3 4 are the covariates, and how different to that. These are like the primary results. And what holds the further, and what would be the other future consideration. And still this is the preliminary stage. We could still do a behavior analysis, understanding more deeper into the angler decision, and we could more do community engagement involving anglers in developing risk communication. We could do a longitudinal study. So this is what like trending the fish population, because fish do travel or like move a lot. So the fish that are like in the one place and have higher contamination may shift to a place where we primarily think have like lower contamination, but due to the mobility it might have now shifted. So this kind of information would be helpful for people also. And for the better policy evaluation effective the all the water quality, or like the metal status of the water, and the advisory effectiveness. And we could still do a health impact assessment on the people, how much it has affected the people. Those could be like further research and consideration we could do from that. And that's all. And I want to acknowledge my advisor Ari and Bindu, and my committee member Kelsey and Chris, and all the UBM staff and faculty, and all the people from ALB and Eli, all the people from DEC, DOH, from BT Military Coalition. And this work was funded by the Government Equity and Justice Award, and from the Lake Champlain Sea Grant from the UBM. And all the finding and statement doesn't reflect the views from Sea Grant or any other places. That's all from me. Thank you.